Casual Sporting, back with another video after a long year. Since I started watching baseball from a young age, there has been many exciting teams I have been able to watch. Some were dominant and won the World Series, and others were just fun teams that stole America's heart despite not winning it all. Today, I'll be listing some of my favorite teams from the 2010s. Two of these teams actually won the World Series, but the other three were still very fun to watch. There are so many teams I wanted to put on this list, but today I'm going to go through 5. So like for a part 2, the first team on this list is the 2015 Royals. They became America's team in 2014 as they fought all the way up to Game 7 of the World Series when they came out of nowhere. They came back the next year even better in 2015 as they won the division and had a record of 95-67. Their core of Locaine, Hosmer, Perez, Moose, and Alex Gordon was electrifying and was must-watch baseball every day. You can't forget their dominant pen either, with Wade Davis leading the pen as their closer. The playoffs came and they showed how much they wanted to win the World Series, as every series they came behind from many deficits. In the ALDS, down 2-1 against the Astros, they scored 7 unanswered runs in the 8th and 9th inning to force a Game 5, then sealed the win in Game 5 with a big Morales home run in the 8th, which is one of my favorite moments from that run. Another one of my favorite moments from that run was Game 6 of the ALCS against the Blue Jays, where Lorenzo Cain scored from first on a Eric Hosmer hit in the 8th inning to seal the series. The World Series came, and it was no different, as the Royals constantly came behind against the Mets to win their first World Series in 30 years. In an era with dominant starters and power hitters, the Royals depended on their contact and speed, along with their bullpen, to win. Sadly, due to a World Series hangover, then being a small market team, the Royals core never went back to the playoffs, but that 2015 team will always be memorable. Next on the list is the 2017 Indians. The Indians came off a World Series appearance where we all know they blew a 3-1 lead to the Cubs. Their tough end to the previous season didn't stop them from being one of the best teams the next year. They added Edwin Encarnacion, who had a pretty good season, hitting 32 bombs and driving in 107 runs. They had 5 All-Stars in Michael Brantley, Corey Kluber, Francisco Lindor, Jose Ramirez, and Andrew Miller. Everyone remembers from that season their historic 22-game win streak, which is the most since 1912. The last win of the streak is one of my favorite moments from that season, where they came from behind in the 9th and then walked off in extras from Jay Bruce. They finished the season 102-60, which was the most in the American League. Everyone thought they were going to go back to the World Series, but sadly lost in the ALDS to the Yankees. Francisco Lindor's home run in Game 2 was the loudest crowd I've ever watched in Progressive Field behind Rajai Davis' Game 7 home run. Sadly, the Indians blew another lead in that series as they blew a 2-0 lead. Their lineup was stacked and their rotation was even more special, and sadly they didn't win the championship somehow. The 2018 and 2019 Yankees were very fun teams, but I'm going to go with 2019 Yankees on this list. Both teams had potential to make the World Series, but just lost the teams that were simply better. Their second straight 100-win season, and this time they won the division. In 2018, everyone was healthy for the most part of the year and was honestly their best chance to win the World Series, but the 2019 was more memorable due to their next man up mentality. Many of their star players were hurt, as players like Stanton, Didi, and Aaron Hicks all played under 100 games, and Judge just played over 100 with 102 games played. Despite this, they still won 103 games and took the Astros to 6 games. My favorite moment from their season is Didi's grand slam in Game 2 of the ALDS versus the Twins and the swagger he had after he hit the home run. That Yankees-Astros series was amazing that year, and sadly they lost on a walk-off to Altuve in Game 6. The way they were still able to be so good despite all the adversity they faced is one of the reasons why they're on my list. Next on the list is the 2018 Brewers. It was a tough choice between this team and the 2011 team with Prince Fielder, Ricky Weeks, Corey Hart, and Nyler Morgan and the rest of them, but I remember more of the memories of the 2018 team. This was Lorenzo Cain, who was one of my personal favorite players, first year back in Milwaukee, and him along with Yelich led the offense, who had a big season from Jesus Aguilar and Travis Shaw as well. They came back from 5 games back in September to force a Game 163 against the Cubs, which they won. They won their last 8 games of the season to win their first National League Central Division title since that 2011 team. This was behind a Christian Yelich MVP season where he just fell short of the Triple Crown by 2 home runs and 1 RBI. This Brew Crew became a fan favorite going into the postseason, but sadly lost to the Dodgers in 7 games. The 7th game wasn't as eventful as the first 6, but it was still a great series and a disappointing end to a great run by this Brewer team. I have always felt the Brewers, since that year, have always been 1 or 2 pieces short from being a true contender, but sadly has still never got those pieces to this day. The 5th and last team on my list, being a Nats fan, of course, is the 2019 Nationals. The adversity they faced and their dominance later on was just an amazing thing to watch as they made the World Series for the first time ever. This is a year after the face of their franchise, Bryce Harper, left to go to Philly. It wasn't always easy for them though, as they started the season, as everyone knows, 19-31. The Nats finally took off and never looked back for the rest of the season. The best thing about this team was they were mostly a veteran team with players such as Ryan Zimmerman, Howie Kendrick, Asdrubal Cabrera, Anibal Sanchez, and then Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg, to name some. Their lineup led by Trey Turner, Anthony Rendon, and Juan Soto, along with their big 3 in the rotation of Max Scherzer, Patrick Corbin, and Steven Strasburg, was good enough to get the Nationals out of the NLDS for the first time in history. I knew this team was special when Juan Soto hit the go-ahead hit in the wildcard game in the 8th inning and they won the game. This was a turning tide for the organization as they finally won a series, even though it was only 1 game. The Nats have been trying to win a playoff series before that since 2012, and they failed every time. So for them to finally win a big game was a really big thing for the organization. Big hits from Rendon, Kendrick, and Soto helped the team win their first championship in their organization's history. A few years later, almost everyone from the team is gone, but 2019 was one of my favorite teams and a team that I'll always look back on and have a big smile while watching. These 5 teams aren't ranked by who I found more interesting or who I thought were the better team, rather just 5 teams that I found interesting during the 2010s, like for a part 2 of most interesting teams of the 2010s.